I don't know if you guys saw this or not. First time in 100 years, U.S.'s credit rating is officially AA from all three rating services. I don't know if you heard about this. First time in 100 years, right, if I'm not mistaken, since the 20s, 1920s.
Correct.
That we now have AA with Fitch, AA with Moody, and AA with S&P.
Yeah.
All three of them. Okay, so this hasn't happened. What does that mean? You know, when I was selling junk bonds, or you sell bonds, and you buy a junk bond, they would pay 20%, or 24%, or 18%. What is a junk bond? Like, oh my God, it pays 18%. Yeah, but it's most likely to go out of business because they're not going to be able to pay off the debt. It's like a desperation D-paper. But if you get something that's like, oh, it pays 3.5% treasury bond, it's a T-bill, it's a T-bond, it's a 10-year, it's a da-da-da-da-da. Credibility is you're guaranteed to get paid on this, right? So the lower it goes, rates go up. We were talking about this yesterday, Brandon, so I'm going to come to you here in a minute, but I want to play a clip for you guys from Jamie Dimon. Rob, if you can play the clip of the crack in the bond market, you know, if you have that, is this the one?
This is it.
Go for it, Rob. Play this clip.
You know, these are very large numbers. You've seen it a little bit. You know, you had the crack in the bond market in COVID a little bit. You know, the government did the right stuff, then they massively overdid both spending and QE. We borrowed and spent $10 trillion from 2020 to today. Wow. Okay, and you heard the numbers before. We also bought $4 trillion of your securities, on top of the $4 trillion we bought in the first go-round. Those numbers are true globally, not quite as big as ours, but the QE of us was $8 trillion, the QE of the rest of the world was another $8 trillion or something like that. You're talking about huge sums of money. We don't really know the full effect of that. And you know, the bond dealers, which Gary mentioned, you know, inventories are much smaller than they used to be, partially because of rules and regulations. And you are going to see a crack in the bond market, okay? It is going to happen. And I tell this to my regulators, some of who are in this room, I'm telling you it's going to happen, and you're going to panic. I'm not going to panic. We'll be fine. We'll probably make more money, and then some of my friends will tell me that we like crises because it's good for J.P. Morgan Chase. Not really. I tell people when Credit Suisse went bankrupt at the First Republic, it was terrible for the banking industry. I think we can make everything better, including that, by just changing and modifying certain rules and regulations, letting market makers intermediate more in the market. But to give you a number, like just J.P. Morgan alone buys and sells $3 trillion a day. And we move $10 trillion a day of money. And we're probably a tenth. So the money moving around the world is $100 trillion a day. The money moving around in the investments, you know, this is stocks, bonds, corporate governments, derivatives, credit, you name it, FX, sovereign debt around the world, 30 trillion. The people who set those long-term rates are those people, including you in the room. It's not the Federal Reserve. They can try to manipulate the long-term rate. They can do the, what's it called, you know, they do the twist or whatever. It doesn't work for that long. So if you look at economic history, bad things happen. When those tectonic plates shift, it's very hard to see in real time. It is shifting, and this is one of them. I just don't know if it's going to be a crisis in 6 months or 6 years. And I'm hoping that we change both the trajectory of the debt and the ability of market makers to make markets. And also remember, there are a lot of people, you know, going down to Washington who actually like bad markets. You know, and the problem with the bad markets isn't that it's bad for the big banks who make markets. It's bad for the people who raise money. Small businesses, asset-backed securities, middle market companies, corporations, the United States government. And that volatility scares people. You can pause it right there.
He almost said it, but he didn't want to say it. Of course a bad economy helps these guys out. Didn't they buy up a couple companies last time? And, you know, anyways, Brandon, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, he's saying the bond market's going to crack. I don't know how we could say the bond market's not cracked already. Like, I don't think it's a normal thing at all for the Federal Reserve to own $20 trillion worth of bonds and mortgages, just to keep interest rates at a normal level. And, like, then with them having that, they're still having a hard time keeping them normal. And like he said, yeah, it is mostly the, like, private investors that move the bond market around. They say it's the smartest money in the world because it's, like, the biggest pile of money in the world. But, yeah, it's because Trump's showing no semblance of any interest in reducing the deficit and like reeling in spending. They keep talking about this $500 trillion of assets that America has, but you know, like show that first before like putting this stupid bill forward that's going to put us into more debt that has no interest in saving money or reducing what we're spending. And then Doge was a disaster, a complete failure. Maybe they baked that into a degree when he promised $1 trillion or $2 trillion. So Yeah, of course. Like it started falling apart when he proposed that bill, when it looked like that bill was going to pass. And yeah, I'm right there with him. It's I'm super disappointed that Trump is showing no interest in really in the national debt, and I think it's disastrous for everybody.
Two questions for you, Tom. One, how bad is it that our rating is now AA, Fitch, Moody, and S&P? And what are your thoughts on what Jamie Dimon said in this clip?
Well, I'll break it into three parts. First of all, the rating agencies just said what has been a reality for the past 5 years since that $20 trillion was suddenly stacked on top of the debt. What are we today? 36.5?
Yeah.
Right? Is that the total national?
Almost 37, yeah.
Almost. Let's call it 37. 37 trillion in debt. So the rating agencies just did what should have been done probably 5 years ago when the only path forward is they raise a debt ceiling. That's the only path forward. Why? Because the yields are at 4.5% right now. So you take 37 trillion times 4.5%. That's your mortgage payment of the United States of America that's in the federal budget. And so now you have this perpetual momentum machine, Pat, where, oh, well, I can't hardly afford the minimum payments on my credit card. Don't worry, we'll do a debt consolidation loan. We'll put your two credit cards together on just a little bit less interest rate, and then you pay. That's the momentum we're at. So what is Jamie Dimon talking about? He's saying, hey, look, at some point in time, this is going to crack. And when it cracks, there's going to be buyers, there's going to be sellers. And he came out and said it. Oh, this was bad for the banking industry. This was horrible for the banking industry, except it was J.P. Morgan that picked up all the good parts when Humpty Dumpty fell and broke, when he's talking about First Republic, right? They came in, hey, you know those, not the commercial stuff here, this stuff here, yeah, we'll take that and we'll pay this and we'll pay that, so they could help clean up the bankruptcy so it wouldn't be a full federal bailout. So Jamie Dimon was right. And he was honest about the fact that he benefits, but he was also honest about the fact that we have not had a full settling of the $20 trillion that we added to our debt in 4 short years. Actually, it's 4, not 5. And we're now, the yields are going up, so now we're paying 4.5% interest on that, which is making it worse, which is why they keep raising the debt ceiling and getting even more debt, because they can't get the budget through Congress. And so I share Brandon's concern. It's like, wait a minute, in the big, beautiful bill, I thought we were supposed to have some big, beautiful cuts.
We'll talk about the big, beautiful bill. I want to show you this, though, Rob. Can you play the other clip by Jamie Dimon? Says, instead of stockpiling on Bitcoins, you should be stockpiling in bullets. And if you can play this clip.
To that point, do we need to rethink what constitutes national security?
I wouldn't rethink it. We know what constitutes national security. We need, I was saying we shouldn't be stockpiling Bitcoin. We should be stockpiling guns, bullets, tanks, planes, drones, rare earths. We know what we need to do. This is not a mystery.
Did you say stockpiling Bitcoin?
I said we shouldn't be stockpiling Bitcoin.
Oh, it shouldn't be.
We
Okay.
should be stockpiling bullets.
Okay.
The military guys tell you that, if there's a war in the South China Sea, we have missiles for 7 days.
That's correct.
Okay, come on. I mean, we can't say that with a straight face and think that's okay. So we know what to do. We just got to now go about doing it.
Adam, thoughts?
There's so much to unpack here, and this is the number one issue for, at least for me, is as amazing as America is, as the opportunity economy, we're in, the land of opportunity, we are freaking broke. If this was any household in America where you have this massive income, amazing income, right? But then, by the way, don't look over here. You're running a $2 trillion deficit every year. What the hell would you do in your house?
Chapter 13.
All right, Chapter 13, file for bankruptcy. We're going to sell one of the cars. Nope. Sell the boat. Pull the kids out of private school. We're not eating out. It's ramen noodles. It's soup. We're holding down the fort. We got to get this shit together. And unfortunately, the U.S. right now is just like, nope. Keep spending. There's this big, beautiful bill. It's big. It's beautiful. Elon Musk, who just left Doge, came out and said, well, it can't be both. It can either be big or it can be beautiful. But it's going to be very hard to be big and beautiful. So, Trump, I would hope, doesn't add more to the deficit, doesn't add more to the debt. But you just said that Doge was an astronomical failure.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with that. There's a lot to say about what Elon Musk is talking about with his black eye. But remains to be seen.
So if you believe the future looks bright and you live in Florida, Texas, California, or New York, in that order, by the way, of the hats are available for your state where you get to wear Future Looks Bright. And on the site, has your state on it. I think the Florida numbered hats, there's 3 left on the numbers for Florida, but the rest of them, there's a few left for you to go order. Rob, do you have a video on this or no with the hats?
Yep.
Press the video on this here. You can go ahead and play it. And it tells you, on the cover, it says Future Looks Bright. Valuetainment logo on the other side. You got Florida, California, Texas, and New York. If you're proud of your state, where you live in, and you believe the future looks bright, go sport it. And by the way, we got emails from people saying, how about our state? How about this? How about that? Look, we even had a couple guys that ordered the hats and sent it to people that live in Texas, New York, California, and Florida. And a lot of good commentary. I was tagged on a bunch of different gifts that people got. So go place your order. Go to vtmerch.com, place the order for the hat that represents your state, or buy it as a gift for somebody that lives in those states.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.